welcome to the stage Renee DeResta, Nicole Hannah-Jones, Zainab Dufekci, LENI ROBREDO, and Daniil Dash.
All right. Get very serious. All right. Thank you so much for all joining us for this panel today. I am so excited to moderate it. I think it's a fascinating topic, a really critically important topic to discuss. And we have an excellent panel here with 4 very different perspectives. And so I'm excited to kind of call attention to their expertise in this area. When we talk about disinformation and democracy, I just want to start by talking about how disinformation is a very, very old problem, right? Very, very old problem. Oftentimes, not a very large percentage of the discourse, but something that has the potential to really impact our ability to have deliberative conversations, to come to consensus, even when we experience disagreement. And so I love the framing of this panel as a way to focus on not just disinformation, what it is, how to stop it, but to think a lot bigger about its role in our discourse, its role in our democracy, and how we do enter into this new media age, this new communication age, coming together to form those consensuses. So I want to start by having each of the 4 panelists. We have a technologist, a journalist, an elected official, a former vice president of the Philippines, and a sociologist and computer scientist. Talk a little bit, kind of introduce the topic from their perspective. How do you think about disinformation and democracy, and the topic of our panel today?
Sure, thanks. So, as Renee mentioned, I come from the technology world, and I think one of the things I'd start by saying is, to your point about disinformation being something that has been around with us for centuries. This is not a recent invention. So much of the recent conversation about media manipulation, misinformation, disinformation has gone right to a conversation about technology, and in particular social media. And this didn't start with the social networks we use today. This didn't start with the internet, right? This is a pattern and a playbook that predates that. And I think that's one of the things that's really important to understand, because within the technology world, for obvious reasons, people want to think that everything is determined by the software we write and the code we write and the technology we write. And it has an impact, but in many cases it's carrying forward patterns, behaviors, or systems that existed before that. And I think that's the important starting point, because there also have to be remedies that involve new technologies, new ways of building technology, new business models for technology, better regulation around the technology that exists. But all of that can only succeed if we start from the sort of human goals, social goals first. And that is something that I think very, very often gets lost in the conversation. And it's important to remember, too, that even sometimes people within the tech industry or people creating technology, they want to pretend that it's the center of the world. And that is the thing that's galvanizing everything. And so being a little bit skeptical about that, interrogating that, I think is a really good starting point. And it just leads to all the other domains that we're sort of talking about here today.
Sure. So the field of journalism exists to inform the citizens. And particularly in a free society, you have to have an informed citizenry so that people can select their leaders, so people can understand how their vote impacts policy. So to me, when I think about the role of the journalist is to verify information, right? To provide a credible source of information, to ensure that when a politician or when someone else in power or a regular person on the street says something, we can say this is true or this is not true. And we know that it's true because we have checked and we have verified whether it is true or not. So I really think that the role of journalists have always been to help society understand what's happening, to figure out where is the truth, what is accurate information, so that citizens know how to respond to the world that they're in.
Okay, disinformation has actually evolved over the years. It is not just pushing fake news or propaganda, but it has evolved to the point that a separate public sphere has already been created, such that it seems like there are 2 different, separate, almost incompatible information ecosystems that already destroyed a common baseline of facts, which is very essential for discourse, for discussions, for accountability in a democracy.